The Earth was peaceful. Too peaceful. That is, until the sky above the planet began to shimmer and crackle. High in orbit, something massive and unseen cloaked itself within Earth's atmosphere. The first sign that something was wrong came when the military radar systems went haywire, picking up strange signals that didn't belong to any known human technology. A series of flashes blinked across the screens, too fast, too alien to comprehend. Panic set in as satellites began to fail one by one. "General, we've lost contact with the Eastern Sector's defense grid," a panicked voice echoed through the comms room, the hum of frantic officers filling the air. The moment was coming. The moment everyone feared. But no one could have predicted what was about to happen next. A massive warship, larger than any human vessel, slowly emerged from cloaking, revealing its terrifying form to the world. It was a silent predator, hanging in space above Earth, its size dwarfing anything humanity had ever built. The Leviathan, the flagship of the Galactic Council, had arrived. "Lock all defenses. Now!" General Hayes barked, his voice thick with urgency. But it was too late. The Leviathan's technology was far beyond anything Earth had. The ship's cloaking technology, so advanced that it could hide entire fleets, left humanity completely vulnerable. As it powered down its cloak, revealing its full, menacing silhouette, the world held its breath. It was like a storm had suddenly darkened the skies, but no one knew where the lightning would strike. The airwaves buzzed with panic as governments scrambled to react. Military leaders were already on the edge, unsure of what to do. The Leviathan was not just a ship, it was a symbol of the overwhelming power of the Galactic Council, the mysterious alien force that had ruled countless galaxies for centuries. No one had dared challenge them before, and now, they had come to Earth. On the ground, in a war room far below the chaotic skies, Captain Adam Carter sat at a table surrounded by his team. They were part of Earth's Special Operations Force, elite soldiers who were always expected to be ready for the impossible. But this? This was not something anyone had prepared for. The Leviathan was a perfect weapon, designed to crush entire civilizations without leaving a trace. It was a machine of war, an apex predator in the universe. Adam looked over at his team, his ragtag group of soldiers, scientists, and engineers, who, like him, had been thrown into this situation with little hope of surviving. His eyes fell on Sergeant Bonner, a grizzled veteran whose face had seen the horrors of battle too many times. Then there was Sam Taylor, a brilliant young engineer who had once been dismissed as too soft for the front lines but was now Earth's best chance of finding a way to fight back. "We don't have much time," Adam said, his voice steady but filled with the weight of responsibility. He turned to Sam. "What's our status?" Sam, her fingers flying over the control panel, turned to face him. "The Leviathan systems are unlike anything we've ever seen. It's cloaked, it's hacking our satellites, and it's already deploying drones over major cities. We need to act fast." The screens in front of them flickered with images of alien drones, small, insect-like machines, descending through the sky, hovering above Earth's landmarks. One by one, they began to open fire on the planet below. Buildings crumbled, and fires erupted in the streets. People screamed in terror as the machines unleashed their destructive power. Adam's mind raced. He knew that the military's standard tactics wouldn't work here. They were up against an alien force so advanced, Earth didn't stand a chance in a direct confrontation. The technology was light years ahead. Earth's best weapons seemed like toys in comparison. But then, something caught Adam's attention. Sam had been working on a plan, something insane, something unthinkable. "Captain, I think I have an idea," she said, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and fear. "If we can get close enough, I can hack into their systems and shut down their cloaking technology. That's their weak point. If we destroy their cloak, the rest of the fleet will be visible, and we might have a chance to fight back." Adam's eyes narrowed. The mission sounded impossible. There was no way they could sneak past the Leviathan's defenses. And yet, it was their only shot. He stood up, his mind made up. We're going in. We'll use stealth technology to infiltrate their ship and get close enough to hack into their systems. We'll take out the cloak, and the world will see what's coming. But we do this together. No one gets left behind. The team nodded, some faces filled with fear, others with determination. This was humanity's last chance, and they were going to take it. As the warship loomed over the Earth, Captain Adam Carter and his team prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. The battle for survival had begun. The team had no time to waste. They knew the Leviathan's drones were already wreaking havoc across major cities, and Earth's defenses were quickly crumbling. As the massive alien ship loomed over Earth's skies, the countdown to their mission began. The fate of humanity rested on a ragtag group of soldiers, scientists, and engineers. It wasn't just about survival, it was about fighting back. Let's move, now. Captain Adam Carter barked, his voice sharp and commanding. His team was already strapped into their advanced stealth suits, each one equipped with cloaking devices to avoid detection. The mission was simple: get to the Leviathan undetected, infiltrate the ship, and disable its cloaking system. Once the ship was visible, the world would have a fighting chance. The team's ship, a sleek, high-tech fighter with the latest stealth technology, zoomed through the Earth's atmosphere, its engines almost silent. They were invisible to the enemy, but the tension inside the ship was palpable. Everyone knew how dangerous this mission was. If they failed, it would mean the end of humanity. As the ship neared the Leviathan, Adam's heart raced. The colossal warship seemed almost alive, its dark, menacing form casting a shadow over the Earth. It was impossible to fathom the power it held. The drones were everywhere, like a swarm of deadly insects, patrolling the sky, scanning for any threat. Adam gripped the control panel tighter, his mind focused. There was no turning back now. Get ready, Sam's voice crackled through the comms. We'll need to get past their first line of defense. If we can't, we're done. They had no choice. Adam ordered his pilot to push the ship into a steep dive, heading directly toward the Leviathan. The ship's cloaking technology was working perfectly, but they couldn't afford to stay hidden for too long. They had to get in close enough to disable the Leviathan's defenses before they were spotted. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. Alarms blared across the cabin. They had been detected. Damn it! Adam growled. Evasive maneuvers, now. The team's ship veered sharply to the left, barely avoiding a missile that exploded in a fiery blast just behind them. The pilot expertly maneuvered the ship through the chaos, dodging incoming fire from the Leviathan's drones. The ship's stealth systems flickered as they were forced to drop the cloak for a split second. In that instant, a drone locked onto their position. The team held their breath, waiting for the inevitable. But just as the drone launched a missile, Sam's voice rang out, "I've got it. I can disable the drone's targeting system. Give me 5 seconds." The seconds felt like hours. Adam watched as the missile streaked toward them, his team bracing for impact. Sam worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls. The missile veered off course, detonating harmlessly in the sky. "That's one down," Sam said, her voice calm despite the chaos. "But we're not out of the woods yet." The ship's engines roared as they finally entered the Leviathan's upper atmosphere, but now they had a new problem. The Leviathan's massive gravity field was pulling them in. The team's ship was being sucked into the warship's orbit, and no matter how hard they tried to break free, they couldn't escape its pull. "We're being dragged in," shouted the pilot, sweat beading on his forehead. "We won't be able to get out of this unless we disable their tractor beams." Adam's mind raced. They had to get out. They couldn't afford to be pulled into the heart of the enemy ship. "Sam, disable the tractor beams." "Now," he ordered. Sam was already on it. Her hands moved with lightning speed, hacking into the Leviathan's system. The tension in the air was thick as the seconds ticked by. Adam's heart pounded in his chest as they got closer and closer to the ship. He could already see the enormous, jagged surface of the Leviathan's outer hull. There was no turning back now. Then, Sam's voice came through, filled with relief. "Tractor beams are offline. We're free. Good work." Adam shouted, his heart still racing. "Now, let's finish this." The ship broke free of the gravitational pull just in time, zooming toward an airlock on the Leviathan. They needed to board quickly, or they would be swarmed by enemy drones. The team suited up, preparing for the most dangerous part of their mission. The airlock door opened, and Adam led his team into the heart of the alien warship. The interior was cold and metallic, with strange glowing panels on the walls. The lights flickered as if the ship itself was alive, responding to their presence. Adam's team moved swiftly, navigating the dark corridors, their footsteps silent. As they made their way toward the central control room, they could hear the distant sounds of the Leviathan's engines. They were getting closer to their target, but every step brought them closer to danger. If they were caught now, there would be no escape. "This is it," Adam whispered, his voice tight with anticipation. "Let's make this count." But even as they approached the heart of the enemy ship, they knew the hardest part was yet to come. Their mission was far from over, and the Leviathan had only just begun its attack on Earth. The dark, metallic corridors of the Leviathan felt endless as Adam and his team moved cautiously through the ship. Every corner they turned, every shadow they passed, seemed to hold danger. The team was silent, each of them hyper-aware of the situation. They were deep within enemy territory now, and their mission, disabling the core systems of the Leviathan, was their only chance to stop the alien assault on Earth. Adam's mind was racing. They were still outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded by enemies far more advanced than they could ever imagine. But there was something they had that the Leviathan didn't: heart. Humans had survived against impossible odds before, and they would do it again. The thought gave him strength. His team was relying on him, and he couldn't afford to fail. "Get ready," Adam whispered. They had reached the core control room, where the ship's central systems were housed. If they could take out the core, they could stop the alien invasion in its tracks. But getting to it wouldn't be easy. The ship's security was heavy, and they were already too close to the enemy. As they moved closer to the door, a sudden alarm rang through the halls, followed by the unmistakable sound of metal doors locking. The Leviathan had detected their presence. Adam's stomach tightened. They were trapped. "I've got this," said Sam, who quickly moved to the console next to the door. Her fingers flew over the buttons, typing furiously. She had to override the security systems before they were overwhelmed. Adam stood watch, his pulse racing, eyes darting around the room. The tension in the air was almost unbearable. Suddenly, the door slid open with a hiss, and Adam gave the signal to move. The team burst into the control room, guns raised, eyes scanning every inch of the space. But they weren't alone. From the shadows emerged a group of heavily armored alien soldiers. They were taller than humans, their bodies encased in dark, reflective armor. Their faces were covered, but their glowing red eyes peered out from behind their visors, filled with malice. These were the Leviathan's elite guards, and they would stop at nothing to defend their ship. Before anyone could react, the first alien soldier lunged forward, swinging a massive energy blade. Adam ducked just in time, narrowly avoiding the deadly strike. He quickly retaliated, drawing his own weapon and firing. The blast hit the alien soldier square in the chest, sending it crashing to the ground. But the fight was far from over. More aliens poured into the room, weapons drawn, ready for combat. The team was outnumbered, but they weren't backing down. The humans fought with everything they had, their survival instincts kicking in as they engaged the enemy in brutal close-quarters combat. "Stay focused," Adam shouted as he fired another shot, taking down another alien soldier. His heart pounded in his chest, but his resolve was stronger than ever. This was humanity's chance to turn the tide. Sam was busy at the console, typing rapidly as she worked to disable the ship's defense systems. But the aliens weren't giving her any time to breathe. One of them charged at her, but before it could strike, Bonner, one of the team's toughest soldiers, jumped in front of her. The alien's blade collided with Bonner's chest armor, and the force of the blow sent him tumbling backward. "Bonner!" Sam screamed, her voice filled with panic. Bonner grunted but quickly pushed himself back to his feet. He was injured, but he wasn't going down that easily. He fired his weapon, taking down the alien soldier in a single shot. "Keep going, Sam!" Bonner yelled, his voice hoarse. "We're not done yet." The fight raged on as the humans battled the alien soldiers, each side determined to claim victory. Despite their advanced technology and overwhelming numbers, the aliens weren't prepared for the sheer willpower and grit of the human soldiers. The humans fought like they had nothing to lose, because they didn't. Earth's survival was at stake, and they would do whatever it took to protect it. As the battle continued, Adam spotted something that gave him hope. The control room was equipped with a central power core, just like Earth's military facilities. If they could overload it, they could shut down the ship's systems, disabling the Leviathan and giving humanity a fighting chance. "Sam!" Adam shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Can you overload the power core?" Sam paused for a moment, her fingers hovering over the console. She looked at Adam, determination in her eyes. "Give me a minute," she said. "I can do it, but I need cover." Adam nodded. "We'll hold them off." The humans formed a defensive perimeter, their weapons flashing as they fended off the alien soldiers. The room was a battlefield, filled with flashing lights, blaring alarms, and the sounds of gunfire. It was chaos, but in the middle of the storm, there was a small glimmer of hope. Sam's fingers flew across the console, typing furiously as she worked to breach the power core's defenses. Adam watched her with bated breath. If she could pull this off, they could destroy the Leviathan from within and stop the alien threat once and for all. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sam's voice came through. "Done. Overloading now." The ship trembled as the power core began to destabilize. The Leviathan was about to implode, but the humans had succeeded. Their underdog fight had turned the tide, and for the first time in what felt like forever, the aliens were on the defensive. As the ship's walls began to crack and the air was filled with the deafening roar of the impending explosion, Adam and his team made a run for it. They had done it. They had won. But even as they raced to escape, Adam knew this was just the beginning. The war for Earth was far from over. The explosion of the Leviathan shook the very core of space as the colossal warship crumbled into 1,000 pieces, its once imposing structure now nothing more than debris floating in the dark void. Adam and his team had barely made it out alive. As they sped away in their escape pods, the shockwave from the ship's destruction rattled their tiny vessels, sending them tumbling through space. It was a miracle they had survived. Inside the escape pods, the team was silent. The weight of what they had just accomplished was starting to settle in. They had done the impossible, they had taken down the Leviathan, the flagship of the alien fleet. It was a victory that would be remembered for generations. But at what cost? Adam looked around at his team. Sam, Bonner, and the others were all alive, but their faces told a story of exhaustion, grief, and relief. They had won, yes, but they had lost so much along the way. Bonner was injured, his arm wrapped in a makeshift bandage, and Sam's hands were trembling from the strain of what she had just done. They had fought with everything they had, and now, it was time to reflect. The silence in the pods was broken by a voice, a familiar voice that Adam had come to rely on in the darkest moments of their mission. It was Sam's, though it sounded quieter than usual, as if the weight of the battle had finally caught up with her. "We did it," Sam said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We stopped them." Adam nodded, staring out into the vastness of space. It was hard to believe it was all over. The alien threat had been annihilated, but the loss of their comrades still stung deeply. They had sacrificed so much. He remembered the faces of the soldiers they had lost, the ones who wouldn't make it back. The ones who had given their lives for this victory. The ones who would never see Earth again. "We lost good people," Adam said, his voice heavy with emotion. He clenched his fists. Bonner, he shouldn't have had to die. Bonner, sitting beside him, winced in pain but gave a soft smile. "I'm still here, Adam. And so are you." His words were simple, but they carried more weight than any battle cry. Sam wiped her eyes, trying to hold back her tears. "It's not fair," she whispered, her face reflecting the sorrow they all felt. "We lost so many." Adam looked at her, his heart aching. "But we didn't lose the war. We didn't lose Earth. We didn't lose hope. We didn't lose ourselves." The weight of his words hung in the air. He was right. As much as they had lost, they had gained so much more. They had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. Against all odds, they had stood tall. They had turned the tide. They had taken on the might of the Leviathan and emerged victorious. The escape pods drifted silently through space, each of them on a course toward Earth. Their mission was over, but the journey wasn't quite finished. There was still the matter of getting home, and there was still the matter of what came next. As they approached Earth, Adam's thoughts turned to the future. What would humanity do now that they had won this battle? What would they do with the knowledge that they had defeated the aliens, that they had proven their worth in the galaxy? There was so much they had yet to discover. So much more they needed to do. One thing was clear, the victory over the Leviathan wasn't the end of humanity's fight. It was just the beginning. When the escape pods finally touched down on Earth's surface, the team was greeted by a crowd of soldiers, scientists, and civilians. The cheers were deafening as they stepped out, their faces marked by exhaustion but also by pride. They had saved Earth. They had saved humanity. Adam stood at the front of the group, his eyes scanning the crowd. He saw the faces of the people they had fought for, the mothers, the fathers, the children. And in that moment, he realized just how much they had sacrificed for this victory. It wasn't just about winning the battle, it was about the people they were fighting for. The ones who didn't wear armor, who didn't carry guns, but who lived and breathed for the future of Earth. The team was tired, but they were also filled with a sense of fulfillment. They had given everything for this moment, and it had paid off. They had turned the tide. They had beaten the impossible. But as Adam looked around, his heart still felt heavy. He had seen the price of victory, the loss of friends, the destruction of a warship, the scars of battle. They had won, but they had paid a steep price. And that would stay with him, forever. He took a deep breath and looked toward the sky. The stars were still there, shining brightly. The battle was over, but the war for humanity's future was far from finished. But for now, at least, they could rest. They could remember those who had fallen, and they could honor their sacrifice by continuing the fight, for Earth, for the future, and for the ones they loved.